Hello there, welcome to another video recap of my time here at the British Chess Championships 2026. Here I'm going to cover my game in round 6. I was on 2.5 out of 5 points, and I was paired as black against International Master Alex Golding, who is a young lad. Okay, not young like he's a child though, but I should imagine somewhere around the 20 mark. And so as black against a stronger player, usually it's always going to be a tough game. Add into the fact that I'm doing the junior coaching in the morning as well, and it should be even harder game. So I was actually expecting him to start with one e4, and I did a little bit of preparation the night before on some lines just to see what he would play. And then he surprised me with one knight f3. I was like, oh, okay then, well, let's just see what happens. Let's see what he's got in store for me. And after d4 here, I've basically got some big decisions to make. If I go for my, shall we say, usual King's Indian, then some people can sometimes be annoying and go like knight c3 here, where they're actually threatening to play, well, it's not a threat because you can still play it, but e4 would transpose into kind of perk or Piet's opening variations. And so here, if I want to avoid that, then I'd have to go d5. There's nothing wrong with d5 here, of course. It's still a good line, and the knight is kind of out of place on c3. This might be the kind of stuff that he likes to play. So I decided to go with e6 here, and he played c4. And the point is that I can't play the Nimzo Indian because the knight's not on c3 yet. So I'd have to either play bishop e4 here, or b6 is the main line for Bogo and Queen's Indians. Or I could just play d5 and transpose back to a normal Queen's Gambit kind of decline structure. But I'm a little bit more aggressive than that, I hope. And so I played a c5, and we transposed into the Benoni, which is a very high-risk opening against a well-prepared player. I don't know how well-prepared he was against this, though, and maybe I knew a little bit more than he did about the opening, or maybe he was prepared. I didn't get to catch up with him too much after the game. But after knight c3, g6 here, you kind of see like main moves here, so there's lots of different setups. The point is that the reason why the Benoni in this move order is quite good is because the knight is on f3 here, they can't transpose into something called the flick knife variation, where, okay, the pawn's already on e4 and they play f4. Because obviously the knight is blocking the pawn. So when he did this on move 1, which usually comes on move 3 in that structure, then you take away this one option. It doesn't mean that there aren't other good lines against the Benoni. So for example, I know that he had, this was always my plan, because I know that earlier in the tournament he played g3 and bishop g2, and the bishop on this diagonal isn't always that great. I mean, it's still an advantage to white, as most openings are. You can even play knight d2 here. And then push pawn to e4 and bishop e2. This is kind of like another structure. I think actually that was made, there's a Spassky Fischer game actually in that variation. I'm pretty sure that Fischer played knight h5 at some point. The queen wasn't there, and actually after bishop takes he was able to take with his g-pawn. It was a really nice game. But anyway, my opponent played e4 straight away, which I think is a little bit inaccurate. Very similar to my King's Indian game against James Jackson, where you actually allow the pin on g4. Because there is a setup, for example, if I just continue bishop g7 here, you can play the move h3, and after castles we can play bishop d3, and this is called the modern main line, and there's some crazy complications after b5 here. And yes, they can take it with the knight and the bishop, but trust me, black gets okay here. But that's another variation. So he's done without h3 to play e4, and the point is that I can't go bishop g4 straight away because he's got queen a4 check, which is quite annoying. So what I do first is we play a6, and then he's got a decision to make. Does he want to let me play b5, or does he want to stop bishop g4 with h3? Because he can't stop both of them. He chooses to stop at b5, and then I'm able to jump out with bishop g4, and I'm able to get this movement, which is really useful. As you can see, we're a bit short of space as black, so therefore exchanging off one or maybe even two minor pieces is really desirable to give us more space for our pieces to go into. For example, this bishop and this knight are both fighting over kind of like this square. If the knight comes to d7, it blocks the bishop. The bishop doesn't have g4, it's only got d7, and then sometimes you even have to put it out this way, which is not the best square for it at all, or it stays where it is. So being able to exchange this pair of minor pieces is really useful. For example, if just bishop e2, then I'll just literally take straight away, and then immediately you can see that we've got very nice developments, and using the e5 square for our pieces would be really good. He plays more critically than that though, and plays queen b3 relatively quickly, which I was a bit surprised at, because it's almost like an instant decision. But I did find out that during the course of this game he was just playing very quickly all the time, so it's maybe just a habit or something that he uses the clock as a weapon as well. And now the point is that if I take the knight, well, he could take on b7. So I had to do some calculating here, because I remembered reading something about this variation where I think off the chess publishing website from one of those downloads, saying that this is quite desirable for black to happen. We're kind of got back to equality. I kind of just had to do a bit of calculation there, after knight here, rook b8 and stuff, and we just get really nice kind of counterplay on the queen side. So he just instantly chose not to do that and just took back with the pawn. I defended my pawn on b7. I think here the computer actually just says just don't even bother defending the pawn, just go knight d7. But I think pretty much everybody that's got this position has played queen c7 here in this line. He chucks f4 in, I bring my knight out, and then he plays bishop to e3. I do the simple bishop development as you'd expect, and he puts his bishop on e2. And we've kind of done the typical few moves here, shall we say, to get to this stage. Here I'd start to go a little bit, not crazy, but we're starting to play chess here now, because a move that I was tempted to do beforehand was actually knight g4, and I wanted to attack the bishop on e3 and swap my knight off for it. I thought that would be quite nice, especially if he has to take back with a pawn. The problem is though, I think he just retreats it, and then he's going to get a tempo on my knight, either with this pawn, or the rook, or even the bishop. And so I was like, I want to follow it up with something. So now when I go bishop here, bishop g7, I'm actually threatening if knight g4, bishop d2, and I can actually jump my bishop into d4, and you can see that I'm attacking the pawn on f2 there. So he wouldn't be able to retreat. So after bishop e2, I then go h5, and I'm actually thinking, well, if I go knight g4 and he takes it, actually that could be quite good for me, opening up the h file and not playing in a standard way. Maybe I should have just castled. But if I castle here, I can obviously put a rook to e8 and fire down on the e file, but I just thought you'd probably got that pretty covered with bishop f3. And then also, it feels almost like this rook will probably come over here, and he'll probably just charge this h pawn down the board at me. And he's also ready to play f5 as well. And so if we take my aggressive arrows off and his defensive ones, you just start to see how all of his pieces just start to look like they're bearing down on my king. And I just didn't want to give him an easy attack. Didn't maybe quite work that way. He played rook g1, I jumped in anyway, because after takes, if he takes this pawn, then of course I take the pawn on h2. Then he castled queenside, and I guess that's relatively simple play. But I go, okay, well, I'll take this pawn now on h2. Thank you very much. I was seriously considering here playing a move like b5. And the point of the move b5 is that after pawn takes pawn, I now actually go rook b8. And I'm trying to get my attack going on the king side, because I still haven't decided where I want my king. Does it stay in the centre? Do I go queen side? Do I go king side? Here I can still go king side. It doesn't feel as dangerous now with the h file kind of closed, although it would work. It's just that my attack on the queen side is also pretty quick as well. So now I can play moves like queen a5, recapture the pawn, and then just go. Or actually no, I'm threatening to take the pawn back straight away. Because if I take the pawn back straight away, if knight takes, then queen b6, and then the knight's actually pinned to the white queen. So these two pawns kind of bearing down on the white king would just be really good. Couple that in with this bishop, rook and queen kind of over here, then it's really nice. Obviously this knight can jump into c5 as well, and then we've got checks on b3 and d3, so it looks super aggressive. However, he's not just going to sit there and do nothing about it, is he? He's also going to be playing moves like e5, attacking my king in the centre. If I castle kingside, then he's going to be taking this and going to be chucking f5 in. So we're going to have a bit of a crazy game. I wonder what does the computer say about that, actually? I'm just interested to know. So it actually doesn't say it's a good move. It doesn't like it. So after b5. So this is the kind of interesting thing. White doesn't actually have to take this. And actually White's best move here is e5, and it's not winning, it's still equal, but it's still a bit of a crazy game that's going on. And that's the typical thing here. It actually prefers a move that I played shortly, which is to play f5 here, which is very interesting. I would have thought here that he'd be playing e5 against this, which doesn't seem to be suggested at all, which is a big surprise to me. And then so we kind of transposed the game here a little bit, actually, because so I took the pawn on h2, He played e5 immediately, and then I responded here with f5. It's really important here that I don't allow him the attack, because what he wants is, turn off this analysis, if I take this here, then he can actually push on to d6, and you see that this knight is just jumping into d5, and then okay, it can go to here, it can go to here. My king is at the mercy of his pieces. The queen's taking this one, queen's taking on b7, or c5, b7 weak, the knight's got to stay there, and everything just seems to be falling. It is one of those crazy positions though, which some people love to play. I prefer to have more control in my games and not allow stuff like this to happen. So that's why here the move f5 was played, because in this position he really wants to play knight e4 and then jumping in this way or supporting his pawn coming forward. And so f5 actually just takes away the key knight squares to get into this d6 square, which was knight here and knight here. Both my pawns are doing that. I'm not too bothered about him advancing. This actually closes up the position for him. And you see here, even though these two pawns look really, really good, and obviously protected past pawn on e6, that surely is amazing. And I'm sure he could have played this way in a way, but I was not scared about this at all. In fact, I could probably just keep my king on e7 if I wanted to. His attack has stalled, he can't break through, and then I can start playing moves like b5, rook b8, and really hitting everything, attacking his king with everything I've got. The other option for him was to take, and the key thing here is that I wasn't going to take back, because after queen takes b7, rook b8, queen c6, it's just a difficult position for me to kind of deal with. I don't actually want to swap queens here, because when he does pawn takes, moving my knight away is a bit awkward. His bishop can take my pawn on c5 after my knight moves away, and then the pawn actually keeps coming forward to c7, attacking my rook as well, so his knight comes in, so his pieces actually get really active here. But the key thing here is that we don't need to claim pawns. Actually, queen a5 is what I wanted to do, and this is the move that I was hoping for. I was hoping he'd take so I could play queen a5. Again, if he takes here, I think just rook b8 is just winning, because I'm going to go bishop takes knight next go, and his king's just at my mercy. But then also at the same time, if he doesn't do it, then I guess I'm going to go b5 next go. Maybe I have to move my king or something like this if he puts a rook on the e-file, but I don't think I was too scared about that. Even his discoveries with the bishop aren't actually that good, but I would have obviously got my king out of the way of that, of course. But yeah, no, I was quite happy in this position. In fact, what's the computer say here? Let's put it on. Am I right? Yeah, okay, so I'm ever so slightly better here. Apparently his best move is bishop d2. And then apparently I go queen b6 or queen b4 for the exchange of queens. Queen b6 maybe? Queen b4, it doesn't really matter. Okay, and it is still equal, but ever so slightly favouring black here, but that's, I guess, with best play. If he'd gone something like rook e1, what would it say? Oh, that's it. That's the point. Because if he goes rook e1 before taking on b7, I don't move my king. I actually castle queenside now and change the plan up. Now I will go back and recapture the pawn on d6, and his attack is again not really playing. But okay, this didn't happen. And after we go back to rook h2 e5. I played f5. He went rook h1. And I kind of calculated this variation that happened in the game kind of towards where I was material up. I thought, yeah, that's good for me. And after takes, I then castled, and then rook down. I attack the rook. My queen now defends my bishop. He takes here. I can't take with the queen because the queen was defending the bishop here. So I take with the rook. He sacks the exchange, and then he does bishop takes c5. And I looked at this position from back there and thought, okay, surely I can find a way here to, get rid of all the tactics and actually just win the game. Then when I found myself in this position, I was like, oh, this isn't so simple, is it? And I know that the computer finds some easy ways somehow of winning the game, or of going through it, but for some reason it just did not feel easy in this position whatsoever. I was looking at loads of things here. I mean, for example, I was just considering giving back the exchange here, but then if I give back the exchange, he would go queen a3 or queen b4 here. He wouldn't just take the rook, but even if he did take the rook, you've got to think, what's my winning margin? Actually, it's equal on pawns. I have the better structure because of this. His pawns on the king's side are terrible, but this is not the kind of way that I really wanted to play. Plus, after queen c7, queen a3, I was thinking, okay, king d7 to attack this. I had kind of images of like a5, knight a4, knight b6 coming. I was like, how do I even deal with that? What do I even do to actually kind of play against this kind of setup? My king feels like it's got to stay connected to the rook, and it's crazy. The computer says that I'm still equal here, shall we say, but I'm not. I'm definitely not winning it. So that was option number one for us. So where were we? Okay, so rook takes on castles. If that takes. Bishop takes c5 here. And I just started to realise just how bad my king was. And unfortunately, I didn't find the right answer. I think the computer says something crazy. It says it's equal here. Like the computer's analysing this, saying it's equal, which is a bit gutting because I thought that I was going to be winning here at this point. I thought I was going to be ahead. So I guess I'm glad that it ended the way it did. But if I just go back a few moves, I did have another option back here, which was after rook takes rook, not castles queenside, but to actually do d takes e5 now. Because his rook now is left a d1 square, all of a sudden d6, and I don't actually have to take it because it might put his rook back on d1. But I can take this pawn on e5 now. With the pair of rooks exchanged, the attack that he has just isn't quite as dangerous, and I just keep taking pawns. I think maybe after d6, maybe I go like queen b6 or queen a5. Queen b6, he probably swaps queens and takes on c5. But even then, you see, that's not even that bad because we're swapping off material. That can actually help me because my king is a bit weaker, but my pawn structure is so much better. So yeah, I mean this would have been a better variation. Apparently the move that I had to find was c4. Everything else loses. I did not expect c4. I mean obviously it's a typical intermezzo, but yeah, I didn't really. I thought I was okay moving the queen, but clearly not. Okay, apparently his best line is to take the queens off, but this is just winning for black, surely. Right here. Okay, so it comes down, but I've got king f7. Takes here, I can just take. Oh, okay, knight f8, kick it away first, and he's got to play e6. But if he plays e6, knight takes, and then my knight's ready to take c7. Okay, you can defend it with a bishop, but it doesn't feel that bad, does it? I'm just winning everything here. So, like his second best move here is rook takes bishop, which I don't quite believe at this stage. So something like this, I guess. Oh, king takes is best. What? Oh, because I attack the knight. But okay, knight takes is also possible. I think I do knight takes here because this just feels simple. Can I go king g8? Is that stupid? Oh, I've got knight e7 check, which I missed. Okay, so rook e8. King d1. Oh, and g5. Oh, apparently I'm going like f4 and getting these pawns ready to go. Okay, so a little bit of a bind on the position with the pawn on c7, but I can see how I could win that game. But c4 here, though, I thought surely you'd keep the queens on, something like this. Apparently just queen here, and this is apparently good for me. Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy position to evaluate, which is why I didn't do it. Okay, well, I castled and went into this variation here where he sacks the exchange, and okay, it's equal here. But I mean, the turns in this game are crazy. I go rook back to d8, thinking this is good. He goes d6, and then actually, apparently, I should play queen h6 here. Just targeting this pawn for some checks and then coming back round. But I go knight d7, and I'm very close to losing this now because after bishop a7, knight b8, it's actually white to play and win here. So if you want to pause the video, now's the time to do so, and you'll try and find the way to win in this position. My opponent did not find it, rushed his moves, and he could have spent some time here just finding it, and then that would be it. But unfortunately, he didn't play it. So, if you had a good go at it, you should have found queen e6 check, which amusingly leads to whatever type of block you want, let's say the queen, and then even though the queen is under attack, you can actually just go knight d5. The main point being that after queen takes queen, knight b6 is checkmate, and my king has got no squares to go to. That's why the bishop went to a7 in the first place, to stop the king coming this way. And so even if we move the knight out, so I would have been absolutely busted. And I don't think there's anything I can do here. Even if I block with the rook, this also feels wrong too. for many reasons. Maybe just knight in, like this check here is just devastating for me because it moves the king away from the knight. So that would have been an option. And knight here is actually the same move because the knight's pinned, so this is still checkmate. And there's no way out apart from sacking queens and stuff. So yeah, quite fortunate he didn't find that. He moved his knight in, and I thought, okay, well I take the pawn now, and now this is looking pretty good. So he goes knight check, and I think, okay, can I get away with taking this knight? Can I do that? I mean, I am a pawn up, and does it save my king? Does my king get good? And I actually looked at it and thought, okay, rook takes knight, bishop takes, knight c6, this looks normal. But then after just queen here, I was just like, actually, what do I do now? I can't go to b8 because my king is still checkmated. And then also, if I go queen d7, he actually goes queen g8 check. I have to block with the knight. And then I guess he probably plays something like a5. How do I ever escape from this? Like, his bishop and queen just attack my knight until the end of time. And my queen can move like up and down the d file, shall we say. Okay, maybe not to d2, but can definitely go to d3, d5, d6, or sorry, not even d5, d6, so it'll stay around the knight, maybe on e7 perhaps as well. I can't progress, and because he can't progress either, he can't actually move any pawns forward, because every pawn just gets taken. He can't improve his king, my queen will probably check it loads as well. This would actually just be a draw, where nobody can do anything, which is quite an amusing situation. So I was trying to avoid that, and I was back to trying to win the game. Before, okay, king c7, and I saw a repetition here. If he goes knight a8 check, I can just go back. He goes knight b6 check, I go back as well. But instead, for some reason, he went knight d5. I thought, okay, this is just a small opportunity, because like he just went in check, didn't he? Like here takes, he just went in check. So king here, if he goes back, then I could just go back to c8 and maybe get the draw. But I thought, okay, rook takes knight. Let's try and win the game. And then I very acutely remembered that if you look at the clock here, just how quickly my opponent's been moving and how slowly I've been moving. It's like, why did I do this to myself? Why didn't I just take the draw? And after knight c6, bishop back, I just started to see loads of ways for my opponent to actually win the game. So here, for example, again, queen d7. He's got this bishop b6 check, king c, which is obviously distracts the king away from the queen if I take it. So king c8, and then queen g8 check again, and we get to this same situation again that I can't escape from. So I have to go b6. Well, at least I thought I had to go b6, and then bishop here, king here. And he goes a5. I think this is a mistake actually. It's almost like he's trying to soften up the pawns in front of my king. But I think he can just play something like bishop e5 here and actually just keep the pawns on, because after a5 I can just take it. Now I'm technically 2 pawns up, and after bishop c5, queen c7, bishop here, queen d7, king b1. I was just like, okay, I'm 4 moves away from the time control, down to like 1 or 2 minutes on the clock, just trying to make sure that I don't lose anything. I was just generally tired as well. So after queen g7, I unfortunately did what I tell everybody else, every one of my students not to do, which is to offer a draw when I think I'm probably winning here. But I was just, yeah, not at the races at all. It started to miss a lot of things, and a draw was agreed. And unfortunately, as I look back later on, I put the computer on here, and apparently queen g7 apparently is a mistake. Just to show you how much I didn't understand the position. Apparently queen e8 is just easily winning, apparently, which makes sense now I look at it, but it didn't make sense to me at the time. I guess bishop e5 is what I thought, and then I guess there's a little point here that I can go queen here maybe, and then that's it. But okay, I agree the draw here, and I could have played on for a win. If this was the Olympiad, then I definitely would have done. But okay, on to round 7 today, and I'm playing white against Alistair Hill. Hope you enjoyed the videos. If you do like them, click like and subscribe. It encourages me to do a lot more. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.